Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the WTF1 podcast. I am your friendly neighborhood host, Dre Harrison, and welcome to part two of what we call in, I guess, launch season, I suppose.
Like a
Pre-season
mini
season?
season in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, like pre-season season, we'll call it that. It'll roll right off the tongue. And we're recording this just hours after Ferrari's mainline launch. Um, and it was quite the spectacle. I mean, Ciaran, you were on Twitch live streaming it along with Hannah. And how did you guys find it first and foremost?
Yeah, I think I wasn't necessarily sold until we saw a car on track. And that was when I realized that I think every launch should involve the car being driven rather than just sticking a livery on a 2022 car. It's hearing the car again. It's the first time I've properly thought the season's coming. We're about to get there, and that's nothing but a good thing. I think maybe other people could take lessons from that in the future. But Hannah, what about you?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, like you said, it was kind of very mid before the car was on track. And I don't think any of us were expecting to see that, but I'm so glad that it ended like that because it really made an average launch very, very good. And yeah, like you said, it just made you so excited for the races to start kicking off again and even going into testing. It's just making me so excited and enthusiastic about it. So I think this launch was the perfect launch personally.
Yeah, I can't disagree. And the question I was going to fire around the room in a minute was this the best car launch ever? Because if they're not the sort of things you immediately remember, but I think this one will go down in the memory quite well because I think it ticked just about every box. I think you had, you know, in the enthusiastic crowd really helped here as well. Like you having, it's not like Aston Martin, which we'll get to later, where they're mostly just sitting on their hands, standing awkwardly. Guys in full race gear in the front row, just looking out of place. You had a proper passionate tifosi crowd in the Fiorano, like audience section at the back. They were clapping, they were cheering, they were genuinely excited. Well, okay, if they were plants, because I know people are very quick to play that card, they were very good at it. I'll say that much. But they were fantastic. They got driver interviews in, they got the academy involved. I agree with Ciaran. I think it was starting to drag just a little bit. And then they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a live shakedown." I'm like, "Oh, we're getting the car." Yes, and yes, seeing the new Scuderia SF23 actually out on track for a couple of laps with Charles and some cool team radio as well. It's worth mentioning. We had Carlos and Charles actually talk to each other, which was like I love the. Then if you had the Charles, "Hello, mates,"
Yeah.
which I thought was quite funny. Which also like both foreign drivers using the term mate a lot. I think it's just great. I love that. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you're at your best, you can do great things, but sometimes life gets you bogged down and you may feel overwhelmed or like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. Working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything life throws at you. Everyone needs to take care of their mental well-being, even hotshot Formula One drivers. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/WTF1 today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/WTF1. This pod is also brought to you by ExpressVPN. Admit it, you're on your phone all the time. We all are. But did you know that phone carriers collect data on whatever it is you're doing? Which is why we use ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that prevents your phone carrier from being able to see the sites you visit and send it off to third parties. All it takes is a tap of a button, and all of your network data gets encrypted and rerouted through ExpressVPN's secure servers for ultimate privacy. Not only does it shield your web browsing, ExpressVPN protects all of your network data so you can stay private even when using your favorite apps. Whether you're an iPhone, Android, or even a tablet user, ExpressVPN works on all your devices. The best part is one subscription can be used on up to 5 devices at the same time. I have my whole family using ExpressVPN too. When your phone carrier tracks you, that's an invasion of privacy. You can either keep letting them cash in on you or visit expressvpn.com/WTF1 to get the same VPN I use. Take back your online privacy today and use our link to get 3 months extra for free. That's expressvpn.com/WTF1. expressvpn.com/WTF1. Was that the best launch ever? Was there one that you can think of that was like on that sort of level?
Well, I think I think human beings, we are very fickle. And I think if something ends well and then we have a day to talk about it, it becomes the best thing we've ever done. I think if you look at it overall, like the first 20 minutes before the car was revealed, I wouldn't put it anywhere near that category. It was standard corporate waffle. But it's always helped when that corporate waffle is so helpfully intertwined with genuine tradition and passion. And that's the advantage the Tifosi have over everyone else who's attending these car launches. It is a collective, it is a community, and it puts energy into the most boring and most mundane of things. So I never like to jump on board as soon as something happens, going, is this the best thing of this that's ever happened? Because, I mean, nothing springs to mind, but will this spring to mind to me in 2 years' time? Probably not. But the idea of having the idea itself, having a car that during the launch goes on track and you get to watch it and hear it and feel it and experience it, that is something that I think is always going to help something be at the top of that ladder.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a better way of putting it, this one's for you, Hannah. Should this be the blueprint for launches going forward? Because we've seen many different approaches to this in the last week or so, 2 weeks now, since we've seen different manufacturers and different teams launch their cars. Should this be the blueprint going forward?
Well, I mean, it had a lot of aspects to it that were really good. But on the other hand, it did also have a couple of moments that were, maybe a little bit boring and not very entertaining. But then the question comes in of, are car launches purely for entertainment? Because obviously it's important to talk about the technical side of things and, the changes on the car. But this season, we've seen only livery launches. There haven't been car launches, really. And so if you take away that technical side, is it purely just for entertainment? And if so, should it be more short and snappy? And should they have more cars on track, or however it could be? So I think that Ferrari did a good job at their launch. Like you said, the passionate fans, the car on track, it was just a bit unexpected. And I think that they've done a good job because we're only really talking about the launch itself and we haven't even mentioned the livery yet, which is the whole point. So I think that they did a good job, but I suppose it depends from team to team, because AlphaTauri, we kind of expected this big, amazing, we'll go into more detail in a second, but like we kind of expected this big thing and it wasn't that. And that was a little bit controversial because some people did want a long launch, maybe not long, but like longer than what it was. And it's subjective. Everyone wants different things, but I do think Ferrari did a good job at their launch. So maybe it is the blueprint going forward. I don't know.
I mean, I'll certainly say, watching along on my Twitter timeline, because I obviously wasn't on Twitch, but I was obviously live tweeting along as it was happening. That was the most universally positive launch event that I've seen on social media since these started. Just over a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, really, more than anything else. So I think Ferrari nailed it. Personally, I think they.
Is that not just because we've seen a car? Are people are people remembering the rest of it much more positively just because they got a car out?
I think that might be something to do with it. Certainly, I mean, actually seeing a car on track is going to bread a lot of people's butter a lot of people's bread, so to speak. I mentioned butter and bread because of Carlos Sainz, and I had to write about this earlier about him saying he's overweight because of antipasti, which I thought was quite funny.
I'm overweight just because I'm generally unhealthy.
Same. So first world problems for Carlos Sainz, Formula One driver problems, so to speak. But yeah, I think them putting an actual car out there was a masterstroke. That I mean, it helps when you've got your own test track to play with. You know, I mean, let's be honest. That's a luxury privilege that most teams don't have. You normally just get these like 15-second clips of them on filming days coming out of the garage, like Alfa Romeo did earlier this week, and I think AlphaTauri also did today, funnily enough. But yeah, that'll do it for another edition of the WTF1 podcast. I've been Dre. That's been Ciaran and Hannah. Thank you very much for watching and listening in, and we'll catch you guys soon. Sayonara.
Bye.
Bye.